Finally. Okay, boy, that was a lot of trouble. Anyways, just trying out some streaming software. Have to bear with me. Probably be trying out several different types of software here. Trying to find something that works, because what I would like to be doing is be doing live streaming for my discussions when I start to do videos and tutorials. Those be mainly the videos that you can then just watch on your own schedule, meaning things like exercise demonstrations and that type of thing. But for today, we are going to discuss HIT training, and it's just going to be a very quick discussion, probably about 20 minutes. Let me give you a little bit of a rundown of what I mean by HIT for those who aren't aware. HIT stands for high intensity training. Many people have a misnomer and they call it heavy duty training. Heavy duty then implies the amount of weight that you can use, which really isn't the actual defining factor of HIT training. HIT training in a nutshell means using the maximum amount of weight that you can in good form. Basically taking the sets that you do, which are minimal, and taking them to the extreme, basically killing that muscle in as few sets as possible, and then allowing yourself much more time for recuperation and regeneration. Origins of HIT training. Well, let's go back. Well, I've been training now for 43 years, and training was going on long before then. But at that point, back in the days of Arnold in his heyday, there was really only one style of training for most people anyways, and that was countless sets, countless repetitions, hours and hours in the gym, and which is fine. There's pros and cons to that. And is that the most effective style of training? Well, that's the question we're going to hopefully answer here. But back approximately that time when I first started training, maybe even a couple years before that. So I started training in 1977. I was 17 years old. Somewhere around 1974, I'm going to imagine, 75. A man named Arthur Jones. For those in the industry, you're well aware of who Arthur Jones was. Arthur Jones invented Nautilus equipment. And along with that, he developed the idea of training to failure. He didn't call it HIT training at the time. Matter of fact, the first person to coin a phrase was actually Mike Mentzer. Mentzer, along with Casey Viator and a few other individuals, actually worked with Arthur Jones. And they took the core of what he was talking about and basically tuned it up for their own liking. What was the whole basis of Arthur Jones' theory? Arthur Jones' theory was you don't need 50 sets in order to make a muscle grow. You basically need to create a stress that will create an adaptive response from the muscle and therefore create bigger and stronger muscles in due course. And in actual fact, his theory had a lot of scientific structure to it, and it was reality. But you have to understand, people have been training for years and years, for hours, and it's like anything else. People are not that quick to change. And on top of that, I mean, it's like everybody's. For example, most people these days, if your father always drove a Chevrolet, you're a Chevrolet guy. If your parents always voted liberal or conservative, you're always a conservative. Whether you have gone actually through the process of elimination and decided what were the merits of both, you just go ahead and this is what you do. So Jones' idea was a little bit far-fetched for many people. I mean, he was basically saying you need to go in there and do one set for an exercise and go home, and that was it. Then along came Mike Mentzer. Mike Mentzer was a very intelligent bodybuilder. Sadly, both him and his brother Ray passed away long before their time. I don't even believe either one of them even reached 50 years of age. But they were well known for propagating high intensity, heavy duty training at the time, which is where the first misnomer really came into play. People started thinking, let's talk about, using outlandish amounts of weight, trying to coax the muscle to grow. Guys like Arnold and Frank Zane and Chris Dickerson and all the others were touting the standard method of training, pumping the muscle up over multiple sets and multiple repetitions. And there was 2 different camps, right? So moving forward from there, though, as we went down the line, we had a guy named by the name of Dorian Yates, and I believe Dorian came on the scene. Don't quote me here, but I'm going to say, well, he hit the really big time somewhere about 1993, but he was actually competing several years before that. But he came around with the first, what would be the beginnings of monstrosity in the way of a physique. I mean, for some, it was like the pinnacle of what bodybuilding was. For me, it wasn't, but I'll tell you this. I was amazed at his physique, but I was more amazed with the man. I'll talk a little bit more about Dorian in future videos and future discussions. One of the few people in the sport that I actually have a lot of respect for, in spite of the fact that he openly admits that he used drugs like everybody else, which is one of my platforms I'm dead set against. Anyways, speaking a little bit more about high intensity training. So what is it, in fact, what has it evolved to? Dorian's version of high intensity training really involves, if you watch any of his videos on some of his seminars, he talks about, well, he'll take a first exercise. He might do 2 to 3 different exercises, sometimes maybe even 4 for a body part. He'll only do 1 set, which is all out. And in most cases, he'll take it to failure and pass failure. But he usually does, according to the videos that I've watched on him and listened to his seminars and his discussions, he'll always do 1 set, which is relatively easy, more of a warm-up set. He'll do a second set, let's say maybe 50 or 60% or maybe 70% on that one. Then he'll do a second warm-up set, and then he'll do a set which is all out. So many people will criticize that and come out and say, well, he's just done 3 sets. Well, yes, he has. He's only taken 1 to failure, but moving through then, he usually will go into his second set and maybe do 1 at the midway point or 3/4 way point, and then take another set to failure, and then finish off sometimes with a 3rd exercise. So in actual fact, he may have had, I'm going to venture a guess here. I have watched numerous videos and listened to him numerous times. He would do, on average, maybe about 5 to 6 actually all-out sets in a workout. Now, here's my perspective. I've been in this game for 43 years. And the difference between me and other individuals is I've been training natural. So many people out there, I hear them discarding the fact that they say, there's no way in hell you should be doing high intensity training if you're a natural athlete. Well, I'm here to tell you wrong. And not only that, not only as a natural athlete, but as an older athlete, you can benefit from it. Most people in their lifetime will never reach their genetic potential. They either stop training or they jump on the performance enhancing drugs of all sorts, and they never actually put from my own experience. My first time, stick with what everybody else was doing, right? But in 1995, I was 35 years old, and